Parents destroyed my life. They no longer speak to me after I shared my sexual orientation. I came out as trans. Still remember the day I decided to come out to my parents. It felt like carrying a 1,000-pound weight on my chest. The fear, the anxiety, the uncertainty, it was all too much. But I couldn't keep hiding. I couldn't keep pretending to be someone I wasn't. So, I gathered my courage, and one Sunday evening, I sat my parents down in the living room. The room was dimly lit, with the old, dusty chandelier casting a weak glow over us. My dad was watching TV, a beer in his hand, while my mom was knitting something. I took a deep breath, trying to steady my nerves. "Mom, Dad, I need to talk to you about something important," I said, my voice trembling. They both looked at me, their faces showing a mixture of curiosity and concern. "What's going on, honey?" my mom asked, putting down her knitting. I'm trans," I said, my heart pounding in my chest. "I'm a woman, not a man." The silence that followed was deafening. My dad's face turned red, and he clenched his jaw. My mom's eyes widened, and she looked like she was about to cry. "What the hell are you talking about?" my dad finally shouted. "This is some kind of joke, right?" "No, it's not a joke," I said, my voice breaking. "This is who I am." "You're not a woman," my dad spat. "You're my son, and you're not going to disgrace this family with your bullshit." "Dad, please, just listen," I pleaded, but he wasn't having any of it. "No, you listen," he said, standing up and towering over me. "You are not my daughter. You will never be my daughter. Do you understand me?" Tears started streaming down my face. I looked at my mom, hoping for some support, but she just shook her head. "I can't deal with this right now," she said, her voice shaky. "I need some time to think." The days following my confession were a blur. My parents avoided me like the plague. They wouldn't look at me, wouldn't talk to me. It was like I had become a ghost in my own home. The air was thick with tension, and I felt like I was walking on eggshells all the time. One evening, about a week later, things came to a head. I had just come back from a walk, trying to clear my mind, when I heard my parents arguing in the kitchen. Their voices were loud and angry, and I could hear my name being mentioned. "I can't believe you're even considering this," my dad shouted. "Our son is not a freak." "He's still our child," my mom said, her voice trembling. "We can't just abandon him." "Yes, we can," my dad snapped. "If he wants to destroy his life, that's his choice, but I won't have it in my house." I couldn't take it anymore. I stormed into the kitchen, my fists clenched. "I'm not destroying my life," I yelled. "I'm trying to live it. I'm trying to be happy." "Happy?" my dad sneered. "You think this will make you happy? You're delusional." "I'm not delusional," I said, my voice shaking with anger. "I'm just trying to be myself." "Well, yourself is not welcome here," my dad said coldly. "If you want to be a woman so badly, then get out and do it somewhere else." I packed my bags that night. I didn't have much, just some clothes, a few personal items, and a little bit of cash. I didn't know where I was going, but I knew I couldn't stay there any longer. As I was leaving, my mom came to my room. She looked sad, but she didn't try to stop me. "I'm sorry," she said, tears in her eyes. I can't deal with this right now." "I understand," I said, my voice hollow. "I love you, Mom." "I love you too," she whispered. "Please be safe." I left the house and walked to the bus station. It was late, and the streets were empty. I felt lost and alone, but I also felt a strange sense of relief. For the first time in my life, I was free to be myself. Life on my own was tough. I stayed in a cheap motel for a few days, trying to figure out my next move. I had no job, no money, and no idea what to do. I spent my days wandering the city, looking for work, and my nights crying myself to sleep. I managed to find a job at a diner, working as a waitress. It wasn't much, but it was something. I worked long hours trying to save up enough money to find a more permanent place to live. The people I worked with were kind, but they didn't know the truth about me. I was too scared to tell them. One night, after a particularly long shift, I was walking back to my motel when I was confronted by a group of guys. They were drunk and rowdy, and they started harassing me, calling me names and making lewd comments. "Hey, pretty lady, One of them slurred, "Why don't you come have some fun with us?" "Leave me alone," I said, trying to walk away, but they wouldn't let me go. "What's the matter?" Another guy sneered. "Too good for us?" "Yeah, come on, don't be such a prude," a third guy said, grabbing my arm. "Get your hands off me," I snapped, trying to pull away, but they just laughed. "Feisty, aren't you?" the first guy said, his grip tightening. "I like that." I was terrified. I didn't know what to do, but then, out of nowhere, a stranger appeared and started yelling at the guys. "Hey, leave her alone!" he shouted, stepping between me and them. The guys looked at him, sizing him up, but they eventually backed off, muttering curses under their breath. "You okay?" the stranger asked, turning to me. "Yeah, I think so," I said, my voice shaking. "Thank you." "No problem," he said, smiling. "You shouldn't be out here alone at night. It's not safe." "I know," I said, feeling a lump in my throat. I don't have anywhere else to go." The stranger, whose name was Alex, turned out to be a lifesaver. He offered me a place to stay at his apartment, and I gratefully accepted. Over the next few months, we became close friends. He was the first person I told about being trans, and he was incredibly supportive. "You're brave," he said one night, as we were sitting on the couch watching TV. "I can't imagine how hard it must have been to come out." "It was," I said, tears welling up in my eyes, "but it was worth it." With Alex's help, I started to rebuild my life. I found a better job, and eventually I was able to afford my own place. I even started hormone therapy, and for the first time in my life, I felt like I was on the right path. But despite everything, there was still a hole in my heart where my parents used to be. I missed them terribly, and I wished they could accept me for who I was. I tried reaching out to them a few times, but they never responded. It was like they had completely erased me from their lives. A few months later, I got a call from my mom. It was the first time I had heard her voice since I left home. "Hi, honey," she said, her voice shaky. I miss you." "I miss you too, Mom," I said, tears streaming down my face. "I've missed you so much." "I know," she said, sniffling. "I'm sorry. I should have been there for you." "It's okay," I said, my heart aching. "I understand." "I want to see you," she said. "Can we meet?" "Of course," I said, feeling a glimmer of hope. We met at a coffee shop a few days later. She looked older, more tired, but she still had the same warm smile. We talked for hours, catching up on everything we had missed. She told me about the arguments she had with my dad, about how he refused to even mention my name. "I want to support you," she said, holding my hand. "But your father, he just can't accept it." "I know," I said, my voice breaking, "but thank you for trying." Despite my mom's support, my relationship with my dad never improved. He refused to see me, refused to acknowledge me. It was like I had never existed. It hurt, but I had to accept it. I couldn't keep hoping for something that would never happen.